everybody, it's Wednesday and we're doing another workshop Wednesday. I've had a whole bunch of you guys asking me about my Spinny tool rack, and I have said that I was gonna do a video on it, but I waited until I built a new one on the same sort of principle. The new one will hold all of my tools, plus has room for more down the line, as well as all of my accessories. I've been kind of farting around with it for several days, trying this and trying that. My friend Marky is an amazing builder, and I asked him about what he would do for the turntable mechanism on this. And he's made some super heavy duty Lazy Susans with casters. So he told me to get fixed steel casters. And he said to get 3-inch because they turn a lot easier than the smaller ones, but I was being really cheap, and so I didn't. I got 2 inches. And I wish now that I had gotten 3 inches, just because I think that it would have spun a little bit easier. But it's okay. I'm not going to be like, just spinning it for the hell of it. So I'm going to put up a couple of pictures of my old one. And the old one, well, actually, I can probably just shove it in front of the camera here. Hold on. I don't know what this thing was in its former life. A friend of me gave it to me, and it had, this and this. I built that thing on top of it and added this stuff. Now this one spins like, it's on a bearing. But it's already too small. And I don't really want to add any more weight to it because, it's not really tippy, but I just feel like the center of gravity is too high. So I'm going to repurpose this to hold a bunch of my hardware. I have a bunch of these bins that they were getting rid of at the Ace Hardware that I used to work at. So these are going to fit up here. So I'll probably make a center thing and then attach some on both sides. So then that way I can organize all of my hardware, because right now most of it is on that cart over there. But again, I'm running out of space. So this is going to get repurposed to be a hardware cart and some other things. I'm going to put up some still pictures too, because like I said, I've redone this several times already. I was trying to do it on the cheap, so the only thing I bought for this project was one sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, and it's not even really plywood, it's sheathing, so there are lots of gaps and stuff. It still cost me $55, so I just went with that. I got the flattest sheet that I could find, but it was still cupped, so I had a heck of a time building the A part of it, trying to clamp it in the middle, and you can see, I think I did it on both sides. I ended up ungluing it and unscrewing it before it set and putting the warp in the other direction so that I could screw it together better. And then the piece that I used for the bottom has just a tiny bit of a cup in it, but it's enough that I was having trouble with the wheels, not wanting to sit on it flat. And I think I have just a slight hump in the floor where that is, so I put 2 pieces. I went back to the store and I bought a 2x4 sheet of 3/4 inch plywood that is more like plywood, and it was flat. So I made a new base, and then I have 7 leveling feet on it, 4 on the corners, and then 3 just on the inside of this, so that I could get that thing to sit flat. When I first did it, I had the wheels screwed to the bottom of this, and that was okay, but I decided that I was going to turn it around. I think that the way Marky had his done was upside down. His was in like a cabinet, so he did that so that the wheels were stationary and then he can store stuff underneath it. And I can't really do that here, but it spins better with the wheels on the bottom. So a couple of other things that I did, I added a piece of particle board here that has a piece of Formica on it. I had a piece of leftover laminate countertop, so I just attached it to that, and now the steel casters are riding on that. So that makes it a little bit more slippery. I did actually take this apart and try it again. I was looking up some things about bearings, and apparently people who do stargazing, they have they make bearings out of a particular kind of formica or laminate and Teflon. And the coefficient of those two things is super, super small, the coefficient of friction. So I bought some magic sliders, where'd I put them? These little guys, and screwed them on the bottom of this and tried it. And I'm not sure if these are not Teflon, if it's a different material or if it just didn't work in this process. But they make linear slide bearings for bridges and things out of Teflon and steel. So that's something that could be experimented with for somebody who has the time and the inclination, maybe using a different spinning mechanism, with some Teflon chair pads or Teflon blocks or whatever. But the way I did it, the wheels worked better. So I put the wheels back on, but I put them on the ground, and then this thing just slides down on top of it. So I have 1 1/4 inch piece of EMT conduit that is in the bottom, and I had this for another project. I built my friend Miriam from Miriam's Nature a work table, a YouTube table that had like an overhead camera mount and all kinds of cool things. And this was going to be one of the mounts for the overhead arm system. And it didn't work out how I wanted to, so I had these left over. So that's what I have screwed down to the base. And then the EMT conduit fits almost perfectly over that. So it just sits along the base of this thing underneath there. And then the pipe stays stationary when this turns. I drilled a hole in it to pin it, but after I put the legs or the wheels on the bottom, it seems to be fine. So this was just pure luck that the piece of conduit that I happen to have fit almost perfectly over this black pipe and flange that I happen to have. So, you may not have that stuff lying around, but I just went ahead and put the pole all the way up through it. I just drilled holes for it in the center where I have the supports, and it seems to be working out fine. So basically it's 1 sheet of plywood, 2 6-foot pieces, 6 by 2. This was the 2-foot cut off of one side, and this was the 2-foot cut off of other side, and then this is the extra one that I bought to account for my wonky floor and box bottom. So I shimmed these out just a hair to make sure that I'm not going to get any drag on that pipe. And then I've got room here to screw all kinds of things to. I don't have everything put away yet. I've been messing around with this for so long, and my workshop looks like several bombs went off. So I decided I'm just going to put the stuff on it and do this quick little video, and then I can put my shop back together and get back to making things. So I reused this and this from my old one. I just, beefed it up a little bit. These things are perfect. They are the end pieces for the floor mats, and I just cut them and then I super glued them in the right spacing for what I had drilled here. And they work really nice because they keep things from sliding around. They're soft and super cheap, super easy to work with. I just cut them with scissors and then used some thick CA glue, and it's all good. So those worked out really well. So I have space here for more things. My chuck is still on the lathe, so that's not on here right now, and I've got to find another dowel of that size to do that with. So my only, and I don't even say it's a complaint, because again, it doesn't need to be like spinning freely like crazy. I am going to have to use two hands with it. I mean, it turns pretty easily, but it is something that I'm probably going to have to twist around, which again is fine. So I built a couple more racks for the tools, and then I did the same trick here with the, I can't think today, my brain is mush, floor mats. And that works out really nice because it keeps the tools from touching each other. And the A-frame is on just enough of an angle that, you know, I don't have to worry about the things falling off, and then this just makes sure that they don't tip sideways or, you know, fall off the end. This is a rack that my dad had for his stuff that I just have repurposed for most of my spindly things. And I'm still in the process of moving the rest of my stuff over here and organizing it. But I am able to get I've got my bowl saver set down there. I've got my 3 tool rests here, and room for all sorts of stuff. I just haven't figured out yet. That's going to take, I think, as long as building the thing, just deciding where it should go, and I'm sure I'll redo it 11 billion times. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I've got lots of room left over. It takes up very little space. It actually takes up less space than the old one, and it feels less cumbersome. You know, it feels smaller because it's on an angle, and I'm pretty happy. You know, again, I did this super cheap. Everything that I used, with the exception of a sheet and a half of plywood and the wheels, is scrap. You know, pieces of birch plywood cut-offs that I've bought over the years and held on to, you know, leftover bits from whatever. So I've got all of my Forstner bits and my tail centers and drive centers. This is my new and improved Spinny tool rack. I'm pretty happy about it.